Hey guys, and welcome to the newest episode of Be Hero Presents the Bump Card Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, as always, Brian. And with me tonight is my tag partner, Psycho. How you doing tonight, Psycho?
I'm tired, but it's been a good week.
I agree. It's been a very busy week for me. I'm just coming from a graduation, as we talked off air. So it was a good time. Good time had by all. So. Well, for most, at least, unless your name is Adam.
There's a joke that nobody will get, including myself.
Adam Copeland.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Now everyone's filled in, and now we've made the joke unfunny because we've explained it.
Or Adam Cole.
Yeah, you can do that.
Got kicked in the nuts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sure there's listeners and stuff named Adam who aren't having the greatest of days. Is that the Dr. Pepper creamy coconut?
It is.
Dude.
Our
so
listeners can't hear, but or see. They can hear, of course. Otherwise, why would they be listening to a podcast? But but yeah, they cannot see that. Yes, I've got the creamy coconut Dr. Pepper.
That's awesome.
If anybody from Dr. Pepper's listening to this and you want to send us like a case for promoting your creamy coconut, send it our way.
Right, definitely. It was very good. In fact, I believe I'm the one that had you try the first.
You did. You turned me on to it, and now, yeah, it's not
the first time I've turned you on.
To that. I will say though that like almost as good as the drink tastes, like, and don't take this in a weird way, but I mean it's us, but I just love sniffing it. Like it smells so good. Like before I even like start drinking it, I'll like just open it, and before I even take my first drink, I'm just getting that aroma, you know? I'm just sniffing the can.
Well, then we're a sponsorship to from Dr. Pepper.
Hey, they need to create like scratch and sniff cans.
They actually do have those.
What?
Yeah, they're scratch and sniff Dr. Pepper. Well, and Coke and Pepsi and so on and so forth. Mm. Yeah, they're scratch and sniff Snickers. The stickers that you can get.
Snickers.
Yes.
Send us some stickers too, Snickers. We're just begging for the sponsorships now.
Right? You kind of have to. That's kind of how this whole gambit works. Anyhow, with all that being said, we've had a great week. And what a great weekend for wrestling, by the way. If you guys did not have an opportunity to watch both WWE's King and Queen of the Ring and AEW's Double or Nothing. Sad to say, Psycho was not able to join me for Double or Nothing. Did you have a chance to watch any of it?
No. Actually, I've read what happened, you know, and stuff, and I do feel like I missed some things there. Most notably, MJF making his return.
Correct. Which was very, very cool. Great promo. He still needs to get a swear jar. Because that boy swears a ton and such. But just before that was a fantastic match between Roderick Strong and Will Ospreay. Which, on that note, side tangent, but it was announced today as we record. It sounds like at Forbidden Door, it's going to be Ospreay against Swerve Strickland.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were doing a gauntlet to see who was facing or was going to face AEW champion.
That's what I just heard.
Oh, well, maybe that's a spoiler that Ospreay's winning the gauntlet.
And spoiler. I apologize. It's not a prediction, by the way. It's a spoiler. Does that work for you?
Sure. I just.
With all that being said, guys, we are going to go ahead and do a review of WWE's King and Queen of the Ring. But before that, as we always do, we will be doing our weekly wrestling news. So, Psycho, hit me with that wrestling news goodness.
Well, I'll staying with AEW for a moment. I do want to talk about, so obviously a big news story that came out of out of Double or Nothing was Adam Copeland getting injured in his match, and pretty severe injury that he's, I guess, going to need surgery on.
Broke his fibula, I believe.
Yeah. Ooh. I didn't see it, but that sounds painful.
I called it.
Yeah?
So, again, spoilers, but in the match that he was having against Malachi Black, they were in a steel cage wrapped in barbed wire, and he sets up Malachi Black on a table and then wraps the table around with barbed wire to hold Malachi Black on there. Climbs to the top of the cage and jumps off to drop the elbow. And in a surprisingly stupid way, because in wrestling you should never do this, he jumped off and landed on his feet from a 20-foot jump on there, and then dropped the elbow as he was landing on his feet on the table to break it. As soon as he landed, I called, "Oh, I think he just broke his leg," which I was being somewhat sarcastic, but obviously I was right. So I'm taking the win.
Ugh. You know, I get it when your mind forgets how old you actually are, and that you can't be doing the same stuff you did in your TLC days. You know, that's kind of what happens. So, like, he wants to, you know, he comes to AEW to have these types of matches and have the control, but his body's not going to hold up wrestling that style. Like, it's just not. And I think, I don't know. I think that's partially like what happened to Punk. When what happened to CM Punk when he got there is that he was wrestling a style, you know, more physical style. Now, yes, not to get on a Punk talk, but, you know, obviously he got injured in WWE as well. But
that one is more of a freak injury, though.
Yeah, I believe that too. But I don't know. I just think it's a shame. And now he's the TNT champion. So what, we're now going to have to, you know, there's another champion that needs to be stripped of a title or vacated, or or they do the, you know, they've done the interim title thing before. So I guess that's a possibility. Lots of people had mixed feelings on the interim titles. But that is something that they've established precedents for.
Yeah.
So that's something they could do. I just hope that if they do crown a new champion or they do an interim championship, that I hope they come up with a more creative way to do it than just a battle royal, you know, or a tournament. Like, I mean that pretty much, I don't know what other ways you could do it, but you figure they're doing the Owen Hart, the cup for Owen Hart, that tournament where the winner is going to face the AEW champion at Wembley at All In. So you heard that was announced, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It was announced at the beginning of the show.
So. Okay. So you've got that, which by the way, I think that's a great idea. It gives like actual stakes.
I agree. Having a show ostensibly that's going to do, or in this case, a tournament of some variety that is going to crown somebody champ, or crown somebody, you know, a winner. Let's go as far as saying a king or a queen, and then having them win a title shot at their next biggest show. That's a fantastic. I have no clue where they got the idea from.
Hey, well, which one came first? I don't know. Like, you know, it's hard to say which one was in the works first. It's not
whether it's in the works first or not. They beat them by a day.
Yes, they did. I don't know if it's revolutionary though. I mean, to have a, you know, winner of a tournament, you know, face it. But I do think that it does make All In that much bigger. Because it gives it
does add more stakes for the Owen Cup.
Yeah, because before the Owen Cup was really cool. I've always enjoyed it the last couple of years they've done it, but putting it where the winner of the men's and the women's, go on to get title shots at All In. I just think it's the first time they've really done that where that I can recall where they, I hope it's an annual thing where somebody wins something, and goes on to face the champion at the show. I mean, at least that kind of a big deal there. But
I joke, but I'm actually really excited for it. I think it'll be something good. And, to be honest, I've always been a big fan of tournament style matches to build a story because it's such an easy backdoor to build a star.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think of Jericho becoming the first person or to have the unified title, right? In WWE. Where he beats The Rock and Austin the same night. He was already right there on the cusp of being like a superstar, but that whole storyline with him beating Rock and Austin and becoming the first unified champ was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and that we probably should have talked about that, that tournament and stuff, lastly, because it would have been a great transition into our review. But we're still not done with the news. Also in that Edge match, Edge, Adam Copeland, whatever. Freudian.
yeah.
I almost said. Never mind. Also, we had an appearance by Gangrel.
Called Gangrel, by the way.
Yeah, which is kind of an. I think that's something that Adam Copeland has wanted. He tried to get it done in WWE actually, and got shot down on it. So I think, and Tony Khan, of course, he's going to go for something like that, because he does things like that. But I wish I would have saw that too. Did that get a good reaction? Did people remember?
It got a pretty decent pop, but to be honest, it was more seemingly like it was the pop Edge or Adam Copeland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
So Brody King and Buddy Murphy both took the flatliner, or not the flatliner, the DDT, the Impaler DDT from Gangrel, and they looked great. They sold the crap out of it for him. And everything else made him look amazing. And then Malachi Black gave him the roundhouse kick, the World's End or whatever he calls it, and then he was just dead for the rest of the match in the corner. I mean, the match wasn't long after that, but he was dead in the corner. So
gotcha.
But it was a fine spot. They did a Taker style thing where they kind of played with the lights, and then he came up front inside the or under the ring. So,
yeah, and then lastly about AEW before we get to some other big news items, but the Anarchy in the Arena match. The only thing I want to comment on that match is the flamethrower spot.
Yes.
So for those that haven't watched it, Darby Allin actually took a flamethrower to Jack Perry.
Lit him on fire.
Yes, lit him on fire. I have mixed feelings on it because, like, as a spectacle, I'm sure it was a cool, let's light someone on fire, and it's, and people have been lit on fire in wrestling before, but usually it's by heels, heels doing it to a, or something like that. So the fact that,
except for when Kane got lit on fire by Taker.
But when? Because I think it was Kane trying to light Undertaker on fire.
It was in their Inferno match.
Oh, in that, of course, but that was basically in the context. That was the stipulation of the match, right?
I'm
So,
giving my example, though. It doesn't
right,
always feel.
right. In this case, though, like Darby Allin, like he doesn't even have like a real grudge with like Jack Perry type thing, and so for him to use a flamethrower in the context of this match, uh, it doesn't make sense to me. Because if you're gonna light him on fire, okay, like where does it draw the line? Like my kayfabe, my if this were real type of brain that's going off here, I'm I'm thinking, okay, why is he not being arrested then? You just took a flamethrower to somebody.
Similarly, in that same match, Jack Perry supposedly ran Darby over, or Darby Allin over with a bus. So
Like all of these types of things, and it's not the first time that things like that. I mean, I remember like Hulk Hogan in the NWO like running a truck into the Rock's limousine, and so obviously those types of things, and I get it. So it's not just an AEW specific thing here, but I always those types of things I usually hate because it's like, okay, you're doing it, but like, why are police not trying to arrest him after, or why any of that? But then, if you're going to do a spot like that, where I watched the footage of that, where he lights his, and it's basically his legs on fire and everything like that. But Jack Perry comes back from that to win the match,
yep,
and it's like,
with a running knee, which means he used the legs that were just lit on fire.
right. It's like it would have been way cooler if he went for the running knee and his leg just exploded in ash. Like that would have been cool. But at least I could have got behind the spectacle of that. If we're going to be ridiculous, why not just go all out, Haha, you see what I did there? But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm like, okay, like flamethrowers, what's next? But
Yeah, they also hung Darby too.
geez Louise, every bad idea that's ever been done in wrestling was in this match. It seems
And
like.
super kicked him while he was hung upside down with tacked shoes. So they're brand new shoes that they were selling the next day, like
Mhm.
the Elites like branded shoes from Adidas. They had tacks on the bottom and super kicked Darby while Darby was hanging upside down. It got to a point where the fans were literally chanting, "Someone save Darby."
Uh, you know, Jack Perry gets lit and fire, and he doesn't get that chant. Like, um, speaking of the Young Bucks here, I watched the press conference that happened right after that pay per view, and because I did watch that, Young Bucks came out first, and they were promoting their shoe, their Reeboks and whatnot, and all that. But oh my gosh, like listening to them, they're just unlikable to me. Like I cannot get like I don't know what it is about them, but just hearing them talk like as regular, not. They were somewhat in kayfabe. They were still doing that stuff, but at the same time, it was like I I had to stop the press conference because I was like I couldn't watch it all in one sitting and they were the first ones up, and I was like, nope, not in the mood to deal with them right now. And there's very few people like that get under my skin like that, and I don't know what it is about the Bucks, but they do. They're just obnoxious to me. But switching away from AEW for a moment, there were a couple of other big returns elsewhere.
I wouldn't call them returns per se.
Right, debuts, or I meant more returns to the wrestling, to somewhere in the wrestling business. But I guess you could say debuts, but except for in the case of one, at least. So Jordan Grace made her return to WWE NXT Battleground.
Well,
Or no, not at Battleground, sorry.
if you're going to do it right, sir, you have to do it properly. Jordan Grace graced NXT.
Oh my gosh.
Pardon my French.
Yes. So she appeared at NXT, and I don't know the exact details. I just read it tonight, actually. But
so Ava, the GM of NXT,
also the Rock's daughter.
yes, had come out because Roxanne Perez ostensibly said that she's beating everybody and no one should have an opportunity and yada 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 at the NXT Women's Title and such. And who's she gonna, who could possibly take her on at Battleground? And Ava was like, "Oh, I've got somebody for you." And then Jordan Grace came out with the Impact Knockouts Women's Title. And came out and said that she'd take her on. But not just that. That's not the only match she's having at NXT. She's actually slated to have a match next week against, oh God, I can't remember her name. But somebody on NXT, like an NXT regular, next week on NXT. So she will be on NXT next week.
Yeah, I think, this sort of thing, obviously this would have never happened if Vince was running things.
Nope.
But it's amazing having, obviously, TNA and WWE are, on good terms to allow this stuff to happen. But
apparently, as I understand, this is not the last. It's going to be a pretty regular thing.
Yeah, and I'm super excited for that. And we've worked with Jordan Grace before.
Yes.
And so very happy
sweet,
for her.
very sweet person. Like, I was surprised on how nice she was.
Yeah, very, very happy for her. So another return in NXT, Ethan Page.
Yep.
Debuts in NXT. And basically he challenged, or he did a brutal attack on the NXT champion, which
Trick Williams.
Yes.
Or Trick Williams, excuse me.
Right. And Paige, as you know, had been released from AEW, or left AEW in early May. So not long. Clearly he didn't have a 90-day no compete or anything like that. So him being in NXT, that's, I mean, I don't know. I'm not the Ethan Page hasn't been somebody that's really, like,
I think NXT is actually the best place for him.
I think so too. I think he'll learn and get better there.
Yeah, and he's got really good promo skills, like really good promo skills, and he's not a terrible worker. He just needs to learn how to be a star. And I think that the NXT, I think NXT will give him that opportunity. I think he's got all the tools.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm all for people getting shots. And yeah, I think it'll definitely help him being in NXT. And then let's see here. I'm thinking any other news. I know there was something. I'm trying to think. That might be the biggest pieces of news. Because I think everything else is probably we'll talk about during King of the Ring. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for news, I think.
Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead now and go right into our review of King of the Ring. King and Queen.
Yes, King and Queen of the Ring.
As we mentioned, by the way, as we're going into this, it was announced that the winner of King and Queen of the Ring will have a title shot for their respective brand at SummerSlam. So if you are from Raw and you win, you go against the Raw champion SummerSlam, and if you're from SmackDown, the same. So
Right. So let's start off with the opener, not the pre-show opener, but the actual opener.
okay.
We've got the Raw Women's Championship being defended, Becky Lynch defending against Liv Morgan. And very interesting. Obviously, in Saudi Arabia, they have to be dressed, from head to toe, covered. And I commented to you while we were watching it that I'm always impressed with the women when they they get creative with what they can wear, since you're going to be fully covered anyway. Might as well get creative with it. Like Becky Lynch was wearing almost like what looked like a tuxedo type outfit, and then you've got Liv Morgan in basically like a Britney Spears "Oops, I Did It Again" red red spandex.
It's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And I found out later that both her and Becky's costumes were homages to Britney Spears.
Oh, that makes sense because Britney's also done the tuxedo look. So okay. I liked it though. This match actually was I thought it was decent. And I'll say that Liv Morgan's come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when she was first getting her first title reign, and she was like competing against Ronda Rousey, and I didn't think she was a credible champion then. I thought, okay, I don't believe that she's on the same level as somebody like that, or that she should win. And but I fully buy into her now as somebody that can go toe to toe with like somebody like a Becky Lynch. And so it was she's getting more credible, and her character's coming along really nicely. And they're doing this whole storyline where like they've hinted at her and Dominic Mysterio having some sort of a relationship or something going on. But Dominic, basically saying, that he doesn't want her to be the champion, which is interesting because that's the exact opposite of what happened in this match, as Dominic tried to interfere and slid a chair in for Becky to use, and Liv DDT is Becky on the chair and gets the pin. I thought it was a good match. And I know I missed a lot of stuff in there. But yeah, I thought this one was exactly kind of what I expected it to be. I think them going with them going with Becky Lynch as champion first when Rhea got hurt, when Rhea Ripley got hurt, I think was a good move because they needed somebody to transition for Liv to beat, rather than just being a fluke, winning a battle royal type thing. And so, but Liv right now is holding the title for Rhea. Basically, she's going to probably be champion, and then when Rhea makes her return, probably at SummerSlam or something like that, she'll get the belt back, I think.
So I agree with you. I think Becky was the right person as a transitional champion. But what I think it does and did is it allowed the heel turn for Liv, right? So Liv was kind of on this tweener level before Rhea got hurt. And injuring Rhea kind of caused her to go more towards the heel, but she wasn't really there yet. She needed to have a bit more of an interaction against the face, and there's not much better of a face for her to go against than Becky. So I think it was the right way to handle it for the options they had. I also think that Liv winning it is the right person. And yes, I do also agree. I think this is holding it for Rhea for her to take it back at SummerSlam. But it does add more storyline stuff. And this does allow Rhea to kind of come back into a truly face role. Because she's been ostensibly a face for, the last 6 months or so, maybe as far as a year. But she was not acting the role of the face. But she was being cheered and got pops and everything else like that. This is going to allow her to come back full time as a face. I know you don't watch the weekly, so you didn't see what happened on Raw.
I heard a little bit, but go into it a little bit here.
So Becky, after the match or after this match was over, on the way back, said that she had put in a in her clause a rematch clause, or in the match contract. So she was invoking that for Raw, which then her and Liv had a cage match on Raw. And they did a really interesting spot to kind of build with everything that was going on for the whole show. Because earlier on Raw, Braun Strowman had gone against JD McDonough, and JD had attacked him with a chair and then ran off. And Braun just no-sold the chair and just chased him. And you find him chasing him around the whole arena all night. So when they get to the cage match, they're right there towards the end. Becky is now on top after they both just take a big bump. And you've got Dominic holding the door open ostensibly for her to come out and telling her to come out, and she's yelling at him to leave her alone, like she doesn't need your help, blah blah blah. And then you have Finn and JD coming out being like, what are you doing? Why are you even out here? And so they're three arguing, and then you hear Braun's music, so he chases JD around and Finn, but the long way around. And so when he comes around, he does his shoulder tackle that he does, his running shoulder tackle into into Dom, who bounces into the door as Becky's starts coming out the door, taking her out, and then causing eventually Liv to win. Following that, Dom's yelling at Liv after the match is over, like going off the ramp. Liv grabs him by the face and lays a massive kiss on him. And that's how Raw ends.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting. And I think, obviously, Dom is going to lean into that. Pardon my French. Pardon that French. Anyway, but when Rhea comes back, it's going to add that much more heat, and she'll be super over as a babyface.
Oh, you know what they could do? It just hit me. Is they could totally have a ladder match for the custody of Dom.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious if they did a callback on that. Right? Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's great.
They almost need to do that now and then have an interaction with Ray, where he's just giving him a look or something,
Right. That'd be fantastic. All right, so let's go ahead and now move on to the next match.
Yes, so next we've got the Intercontinental title match. Sami Zayn defending against Chad Gable and Bronson Reed in a triple threat match. And they did this really interesting thing, a little video package on Sami Zayn. And then Sami comes out to a monster reaction, which actually really surprised me because obviously there was reasons why Sami, wasn't doing the Saudi Arabia shows earlier on. And now that he's doing them, the fans are like very behind him there. I don't understand all of the intricacies of all of that, so I don't pretend to. But yeah, it was surprising though. To me. This match was a good showing for everybody really. But Sami Zayn uh going over here, I think it was a good title defense, especially because the commentary was pretty much kind of later in the show was kind of burying Sami Zayn. I don't know if you heard Michael Cole and Corey Graves basically saying that Sami Zayn beating Gunther was a fluke. And I get that for like putting over Gunther. You know, it's like, okay, that won't hurt him because we're saying it was a fluke, and you know, and all of that. And we'll get to Gunther later, but I just feel like that really takes away from Sami Zayn, especially when Michael Cole is also saying that. Like, what should have happened probably, unless there's a story they're building here, and they probably are, but it should have been Corey Graves saying that, and then Michael Cole, disputing that anyone can beat anyone on any given night, and Sammy was better on that night, or something to that effect, right? Instead of just saying it's a complete fluke, and then Corey Graves, like, yeah, it was. It's like when both. Imagine it in like the old school days, if Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon were both agreeing, it's like, oh, that 1-2-3 kid, it's like, yeah, that was a complete fluke, and both of them saying it, like, I don't know. I don't think it does Sammy any favors.
I agree. And this title reign is very good for Sammy, but I actually think this program is most helpful for Chad Gable.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Chad Gable is more. It's got more reaction from the crowd now than he probably has in a long time, especially as a heel. Mm-hmm. We were talking about this during the show, but he is now finally taking in that role of the next Kurt Angle, right? Mm-hmm. So much to the fact that in his entrance music, they chant "You suck," which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And tying it in now with the stuff with him browbeating the crap out of Alpha Academy. Not right. Just Alpha Academy in general, right. Mm-hmm. Which is great. It works so well for building Chad's character. I think this program is what's going to create Chad into the star that's going to get a title, some variety.
I agree, and I think Chad Gable before, to me, he was a comedy character. It was like I didn't take him serious. Mm-hmm. This program has made me start taking him serious, where it's like, okay, he's somebody that, like, he's always been a great wrestler, but now he's got the story behind him to add that credibility. Even though he's not winning any of these matches, it
doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Because he's more over now than I think at any point in his career is, mm-hmm. At least, like, I didn't see the whole shush thing. I didn't see that ever winning a high level championship, but I can see this version of Chad Gable. I actually almost expect him to eventually beat Sami Zayn. And them having an even bigger feud mm-hmm. throughout the summer. I could totally see that. Yeah. And obviously the finish of this match, Gable's basically holding up Sami Zayn for Otis to give him a clothesline and really browbeating him to do it, and Otis is reluctant. And then Otis finally goes in for the clothesline, and Zayn, ducks, and Otis hits Chad Gable with the clothesline. Really lays in the clothesline too. It looked really good. And then Zayn goes into the ring and hits a Helluva kick on Bronson Reed. And retains the championship. And I thought this was a good match. I thought it told a good story. I I wish that, with this type of a win, the commentary was putting Sammy over more than saying he's a fluke champion, especially because he's getting wins like this. Like, unless they're going to say his whole thing's a fluke, it does. I don't know where they're going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. To be honest with you, though, I don't see Sammy as over as he is right now and everything else because he doesn't need it. I don't see Sammy retaining this belt after SummerSlam.
Oh no, I don't know if I see him getting to SummerSlam as champion. Like,
that's as far as I think I would see it go. Like, that's as far as I would imagine they would take it is SummerSlam, but not after that.
Yeah, I think I think he's better in the chase, to be honest. Especially if they're, saying he's a fluke champion and all that. It's like, yes, there's part of me it's like, oh, well, have him have a long reign so he proves them wrong. And that's always good, but I think there's more story there to be told when you take it away from him.
He's got the everyman sympathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like the John McClane. Like, you're always kind of rooting for him, no matter the situation when he's a face. But you don't really care if he gets it. Like, at the end of Die Hard 1, do you really care much after the movie's over how his relationship with his wife went? Not really. No. He saved his wife. He got the relationship back, or the title in this case. But you don't care after that point.
It's funny you bring that up because I was just talking with somebody the other day about how much of a great movie Die Hard is. Like, it really is. Like, it still holds up to today. It's fantastic. But
somebody should have a nephew with a name of McClane.
I know, it should be done.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next match.
So we got our Queen of the Ring final. Lyra Valkyria. Thank you. It's not even a Japanese name now. I'm butchering names. Versus Nia Jax. I'm not the biggest fan of Nia Jax. But at the same time, I didn't know a lot about. Is it Lyra?
Lyra.
I won't even try to pronounce her last name again. So I'll just say Lyra. Valkyria. Ah, I got it. I mean, it took you just saying it and me repeating it, but I don't know a lot about her. And so, like, I know that she was NXT champion and all that.
After beating Becky Lynch for it.
Yeah, and so I know of that, but I was like, she's getting pushed way fast here. And so part of me was like fully expecting them to get behind her. Like, I fully expected it's like, oh, she's winning this, right? Clearly they're not going to give Nia Jax a title match at SummerSlam, clearly. But gosh darn, they did. Now the finish was actually pretty insane. The finish was pretty good. With Nia Jax basically squashing, like sitting on Lyra
Valkyria.
Yes. And so it was okay. I don't think that Lyra had a good showing here. I kind
of disagree. I think her showing was fine with the opponent she had.
Yeah, I could see that. And maybe it was just the opponent in the mix, and I don't know, but I would have liked to see. They should have told the underdog story here a little bit better, I think, with Lyra. Like, I think if she had come in and and it got more near falls or something, maybe I could have bought into it a little bit more. Nia Jax winning, like, I get it, she's getting massive boos, right? She's getting heat, but at the same time, it's like, how much of that is real heat and how much of that is we don't want to see you, Go
Go
away
away.
heat. Yes, and poor Bailey. It's like I'm worried for Bailey, and we'll get to her later or whatever. But I'm worried that Nia Jax is going to win the belt at SummerSlam, and there's nothing I want to see less.
I I don't know. I can't imagine that Nia would. Like, I would always use Nia kind of like they did with Big Show, where they very rarely ever put a belt on him, but they always used him as the threat that it could happen.
Yeah, I just think and we'll get into Bailey here shortly, but they haven't been treating Bailey well. So
She wasn't even on this pay-per-view.
You're right. So I guess we won't talk about her later. So we might as well talk about her now. But you're right. She wasn't even on this. And ever since she won the Royal Rumble in January, she won the Rumble and she was barely in the promotion to WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least on the big, video packages or whatnot. Like, obviously they built the story, but when they did like the Royal Rumble, or I mean the WrestleMania kickoff show and stuff like that, she was nowhere to be found. There were people that weren't in the title matches that they were promoting and had there, and no Bailey. And then Bailey wins the title, and they're just not they didn't make a big deal out of it. And she's not even on this pay-per-view. Like, I don't know who she pissed off. I mean, she has the belt, so I mean, I'm sure you can look at that and say, well, she's champion, so what more do you want? But if she loses to Nia at SummerSlam, it's really a shame. It's really a shame that was her title reign. Unless she starts getting some big wins and getting some promotion behind her.
It's not been the best title reign for her.
No, sadly, because she's deserved this moment for so long, and this is what they give her. Nia Jax. Oh, gosh. So next, we've got the King of the Ring finals.
Yes.
Gunther versus Randy Orton. This match was actually an excellent match, I thought. Thinking about it more and more afterwards, and it's like, Gunther was chopping the heck out of Randy Orton, and which is, Orton's not usually in those really physical matches like this. And so every time that he is, like, I gain more and more respect for Randy Orton for being in these types of matches and for not being afraid to put over the next star. And he did a great job here. They both did. I thought Gunther was for sure winning this, but Randy Orton's so credible as a threat that there was still doubt there that maybe they will do Randy Orton. Maybe that'll be the next challenge.
They kept putting it over too. It's saying, this is the only thing Randy's never done in his 25 years in the company.
Yeah, and so there was part of me that thought maybe. And the only thing here is the finish where Orton hits an RKO, his second, I believe, and basically gets a 2 count because Orton's been having his knee, worked on in this match, and he can't really cover. And so Gunther rolls him up for the pin, but very clearly Orton's shoulders are not on the mat.
Yeah,
or at least
it's
one of them.
more obvious than the one with Ronda Rousey.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing that took a lot out of this match for me. I was like, come on, like, I get that that's the finish, but I really feel like it should be one of those things where it's like, okay, if he's rolling them up and the shoulder's not down, don't count the 3. Go to a different finish. Have him.
And they're both experienced enough that they could have done it on the fly.
Yeah, like Gunther could have hit him with something, so you have Orton, get out of that, and then maybe you go for the RKO, I'll block it and hit you with something and pin you or something, or go into a roll up, whatever the case might be. I'm sure that they could have come up with something there. As it is, it was a good match. I just wish it had a better finish. And there's matches like that out there for a lot of matches that were fantastic, but the finish is the only thing that didn't put it into all-time classic territory.
Yep. I agree. All in all, like, I think the right person won. I think Gunther not needed this, but it's definitely a feather in his cap. And it's also the cheat way to get him a title opportunity. To be fair, I think that the whole concept of giving a title shot to somebody at SummerSlam was for Gunther to get a title shot without having to build a ton of story around it, because it's an easy way to do it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder though if Gunther's going to win the belt, because I mean, he's definitely a strong enough challenger that he definitely could. It'll probably be the first one where I think it's in legitimate doubt of who's going to win that match, and that'll be a monster match at SummerSlam.
I believe it's him and Priest.
Is it?
On Raw.
You're right, and Cody's on SmackDown, right? Okay, so then it's going to
go to Gunther and Priest.
Huh?
If it's him and Priest, it's going to Gunther.
I don't think it's going to be him and Priest, because I don't think Priest is making it to SummerSlam with the belt, because they did announce that Damian Priest is going to be wrestling Drew McIntyre at the next pay-per-view in Scotland.
Clash at the Castle.
Yes. There's no way Drew loses that, by the way. I don't think so. I think Drew beats Damian Priest in Scotland.
There's one way that he could lose it. With your boy.
Oh. There is, and they could do that. They could have to set it up. That's why I'm so confused here. If Gunther is facing the Raw champion here, and that's Priest right now, and Priest lost it to Drew, you'd have Gunther and Drew at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam. Something about that seems wrong. Seems off to me, because I think they're going for Punk and Drew at SummerSlam, which I thought was going to be for the title. But that can't happen in this scenario. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could do like a 4-way or something like that, or but
it'll cheapen it for Gunther, which sucks.
Yeah.
They could easily do it that way.
I think now that I think about it, I thought there was no way that Drew would lose in Scotland for the title, but with that kind of like thinking it through, probably the most likely scenario, if I had to place money on it, would be CM Punk screws Drew in Scotland, and you have a major grudge match between Punk and Drew at SummerSlam. And then
their feud doesn't need the belt.
It doesn't. And then you've got Priest and Gunther at SummerSlam, and yeah, I'm with you there. I think Gunther wins it. Because then right shortly after that, I think we're getting Bash in Berlin.
Bash in Berlin in October.
So I think Gunther's champion for that. I do. And at first I thought, he'd have to face Cody, but no, not in this scenario. So then, so Gunther beating Damian Priest, that makes a lot of sense. You could even have the winner of Punk and Drew gets a title match against Gunther or something. Dang. Punk and Gunther? I don't know. I don't know if Punk's ready for how physical that match would be.
I know one chop, he'd tear the other bicep.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Yeah, I mean most people would, but
I would cave my damn chest in.
yeah.
All right, next
Uh,
match.
so surprisingly, we're already at the main event.
It was a short show, so
It, it was
unlike
3 hours.
AEW,
So I mean, imagine the days
AEW was
now. We're
5.
3 hours, huh?
AEW was 5.
Yeah, I heard as like I am. You know, when you texted me and was like, I am getting the AEW show after all, and it'll come over, and then you weren't home yet, and we were going to start it. Did you start it from the pre-show, or did you start from the main show?
We got there just as the pre-show. Like we missed the first match on the pre-show, but we got the second match.
Okay. So, yeah, I like hearing how long it was. Like, I would have been out so late, and it's like, no, it's like I'm kind of glad by that that I didn't. I mean, yes, I missed some cool stuff, but I also missed some stuff that I would have been like pulling my hair out for. But what little of it I have left. um this match, so we've got the main event here. Cody Rhodes defending against Logan Paul. It's not title for title, only Cody's belt is on the line.
Yep.
The undisputed WWE Championship. Have they completely done away with the Universal part of that then?
Yes, it's WWE Championship and World Championship for the Raw one, and that's how it is for all titles.
Mhm.
So separate tag titles, the women's titles. SmackDown is WWE. The World title is Raw.
Right, they went back to that. How do they? I mean, I guess the lineage as far as the Universal title goes gets molded into the WWE Championship again.
I guess.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I think the Universal Championship was more a Vince idea, and now that Vince is gone, no need for it. There's probably a lot of people that didn't like the Universal Championship.
Well, the Universal Championship, doing it that way, besides creating your own new belt, you're getting away from the lineage that was the WCW title. Because it's essentially what the world title is.
I mean, kind of. Now, I don't know about now, because they just basically created a title from scratch for the world title.
They did.
That's one.
But,
yeah.
I mean, the original world title.
Right,
Back when
was the WCW Championship, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... but then they, and then Triple H was just crowned as champion. He didn't even win anything. He didn't even have to go down to Rio de Janeiro. And win a fake tournament. But so that one they used the big gold belt, but I don't know. It gets fuzzy with this lineage, and so when they did the Universal Championship, it was like, okay, now we've got another lineage, to cover, and now it's molded into here. I don't think it'll ever see light of day again. So we'll just continue on with the WWE Championship because at least you can follow the lineage there. But getting this match, so this match I was actually looking forward to. I mean, Logan Paul always brings it in big match situations. And he's used sparingly enough that he's able to put on excellent matches when he's able to go out, and he just gives it his all. There's probably not been a lot of people that have picked up professional wrestling as fast as Logan Paul has, coming from another entertainment field or what have you. This one had a lot of interesting things. So they had a guest ring announcer here that I guess was a Saudi Arabia actor. Don't even ask me his name.
I don't. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not good with those ones. So
Yes. And so this match was pretty good, actually. I mean, I didn't really have doubt that Cody was winning this. But it was more the story of how we got there. And they did a really cool spot where Logan Paul was like on the top rope and drinking one of his prime energy drinks, and they do this like 360 like camera shot of all around him before he jumps off and does a splash onto Cody on the announce table. And you can tell that this is not Kevin Dunn anymore, running the production. It's very different of what he would do. And so yeah, I like the new style. I do. And even with the entrances, like how they like zoom in on them, and it's basically the background is kind of like blurred out almost. They were fighting on the outside a lot in this match, and Logan Paul or Cody was going after Logan Paul, and like one of Logan Paul's like his entourage, so to speak, was in the crowd and shoved Cody, and basically Cody like pulls him over basically, and it's like gonna go beat the crap out of him. And then another one of Logan Paul's entourage hands brass knuckles, which are supposed to be banned, right? Hands it to Logan Paul, and Michael Cole's really funny on commentary here. He's like, "You signed a pre-knuck," and
that taught me so much.
Yes, and Logan Paul's like arguing, yelling at Michael Cole, and he's Logan Paul's using the brass knucks on Cody, but hiding it from the ref. And then let's see here. Logan Paul or Cody was going for a vertebreaker, and Logan Paul reversed that into his own crossroads for two in a near fall, which was a nice touch. When somebody uses your finisher against you, just Brett probably doesn't feel that way, Bret Hart, but but it's a nice touch here now. And I was actually surprised at first. I was like, oh, okay, they're trying the vertebreaker here, but they're not going for it. Okay, that makes sense that they tease it but not hit it. But then Cody actually hits the vertebreaker on Logan Paul, which is a lot of trust, because that's a dangerous move.
Oh, it's terrifying. I've taken it before, and it's scary to take.
Yeah, it's yeah, I wouldn't take it. But yeah, kind of crazy, but Logan Paul, they fought back to the outside, and Logan Paul was like apologizing to Michael Cole as he's like clearing off the table. This is actually before the 360 shot of Paul splashing him through the table. But right before that, Cody hits a Cody cutter off the barricade onto the table, and it doesn't break. Which, I don't know. The tables aren't what they used to be. Now they're not gimmicked tables here apparently, because
that kind of table being there for Foley going off the hell.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be pure hell. I think that it wouldn't have broke his fall at all. It would have broke his back,
right?
Yeah, and then let's see here. Then Cody hits the vertebreaker, but the referee was actually knocked down because he got splashed in the corner. So there's nobody to count the three, and Paul hits him with a low blow, And then he pulls out the brass knuckles and he's loading up to hit him with it. But that actor that was ring announcing, he grabbed his leg and wouldn't let him hit him with the brass knuckles. And that's enough for Cody to grab the crossroads and hit him with 3 of them, which is kind of his staple now. One isn't good enough to beat some of these guys, so he hits them with 3 in a row, almost like Eddie Guerrero used to do with the suplexes. And yeah, Cody retains the title. It's another good defense. I like that Cody's a fighting champion where he's fighting like all comers. He's fighting different people. And I like that because I think that'll only build up more credibility for Cody as champion. Because I see Cody having a long title reign. I really do.
I do too. I could probably see him going till WrestleMania, at least.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a Roman Reigns type title reign. It's not going to be like that.
We're not going. I don't think we'll see that again anytime soon.
Yeah, anytime soon. I would not say ever, because people love to break records, but it's going to be a while. I think that'll hold up for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even if they started now, they still have 3.5 years before it'll break. So
yeah, and it's not starting now. I see if Cody makes it to WrestleMania's champion, I think that'll be as far as he goes because there's just too many strong challengers that could possibly win it. You could have Seth return and want his title shot for protecting Cody at WrestleMania. You could have CM Punk and Cody at WrestleMania. That would be a strong matchup. You could have Roman Reigns come back and want to reclaim it. There's so many directions that you could go for a big money matchup. You could have The Rock, challenge Cody at next year's WrestleMania. There's so many people that they could have, in that type of a matchup. And so I don't see Cody running through all of them. One of them is going to get the best of them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. Well, for the whole of the show, what did you think?
I mean, for me, it was a good show. I think it moved things along. It had good storyline progression on this show. Nothing was on this show though that I'm going to remember a year from now. Unless, maybe, Gunther winning the King of the Ring, because if he goes on to win the title and have a decent run with it, I might remember it for that. But otherwise, it was a lot of very good stuff, but nothing spectacular. Nothing was like blow away good.
Well, then, do you think that this is able to take its rightful place as the new PLE, the new returning PLE, and make it a big 5 again?
I think so.
Especially if they continue doing this process, like building the SummerSlam with it.
Yeah, I think so. I could definitely see them doing that. Okay. Yeah, I don't see any reason why not, especially I feel like it gives SummerSlam a direction, especially if that's another thing we didn't touch on in the news is starting in 2026, SummerSlam's going to 2 nights.
2 nights, yep.
Yeah, I know that there's mixed feelings on that. Not for me necessarily, but for, some wrestling fans are like, okay, is it too much? Is it overexposure? I don't know. I think SummerSlam's like one of those big enough events, and they've been starting to make it bigger by doing stadium shows that business-wise, it probably made sense for them to do it, especially if there's a demand. Like Minnesota's getting it in 2026, and they were trying to get a WrestleMania, and so it might be a nice consolation prize to get it. So I don't know. I think definitely the King of the Ring could be a staple going forward. And if you're doing 2 nights, then I think you could have one main evented by the women if they went that route, for the king of the, the queen of the ring, challenging, and then you have night 2, the king of the ring challenging. They could totally do that if they have 2 strong enough matches and challengers.
And they could also do any storyline in between, just like they do the road to WrestleMania, like an road to SummerSlam, and build another challenger for the other show.
Yeah, exactly. So. They absolutely could.
All right, Psycho. Well, I think this was actually a really good show. I do think it was the better, especially the better story-wise show over AEW's 5-hour-long show. There was some really good matches on AEW, but I think King and Queen of the Ring was the better show overall. And in fact, I think the curve of quality of matches would be taken out if you took out the Roderick Strong Ospreay match and Serena D and Toni Storm match. If those 2 are gone, all the other matches kind of go downhill. Swerve's match was really good with Christian, but it was a really good match, but not a great match like AEW, where the other 2 were really good matches.
Do you feel? I was going to say, do you feel like, even though there might have been like overall a stronger show on WWE's side, do you think more happened though on the AEW show? Because it seems like with MJF coming back, Mercedes Moné having her debut match, the flamethrower spot there. What's that?
Willow also was turned on by Chris Statlander.
Right.
She turned.
Right. So do you feel like there was more coming out of it that people will remember?
Yes, I do. I think for ostensibly a show as a response to King and Queen of the Ring, I think it was great for that. But you can't always rely on your water cooler moments, which is what AEW does. So MJF returning, Chris Statlander returning, Monet winning her first title. Those are water cooler moments, but there's no story or substance to them, right? For most of them, most of the kind of thing. I mean, of course, MJF had a great story going into it, but like AEW is so full of water cooler moments. When I say that, as in moments that you say, "Hey, did you see that on AEW's pay-per-view last week?" Oh yeah, that was pretty interesting. And then that's it. That's the last time you talk about it. And not that WWE did per se anything more spectacular, but Gunther winning the King of the Ring, and that'll build story going into SummerSlam. Now, that is more substance than what we have in AEW. Like, the only story that was built in AEW's pay-per-view, of course, was MJF stuff, but he's kind of just done with Adam Cole. Tell him Cole's ready.
Right.
The only substance of any variety that we got was Chris Statlander turning. Trent Beretta might be joining the Don Callis family, and that's it. Maybe they can think of. So,
yeah, I think WWE is thinking more long term. I feel like they're not hot-shotting things, and I think business will continue to grow there. So.
I agree. And I go back to it saying again, it's the water cooler moments. Like the whole Anarchy in the Arena was nothing but a water cooler moment. Will I remember hardly anything from that match a year from now? No. Yeah. Will that give me interest in going to buy a ticket to their next show? No.
Yeah. So. Yep. I kind of feel the same way, and I think, with the news coming out of like Adam Copeland getting injured and being out, I think more bad came from the show, from what I can tell, than good. And WWE, it seems like nobody. I don't believe anybody was really injured on the WWE side, was there?
Nobody was injured. The only thing coming out of that will cause any friction, and this is actually from Raw, technically, is Becky's taking her time off.
Right. She's earned it.
As far as I understand, she still hasn't signed.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
But she's taking time off for a while, so I guess we'll see what happens. I can't imagine she goes anywhere else. But
I can't imagine so either, partially because she did an interview right before WrestleMania where she was asked, like when she was bringing up that she hadn't signed a new contract and she, hadn't been approached with one. And she was basically said that it's probably WWE or nothing, like she doesn't, if she's going to wrestle, it's going to be for the WWE. And I can see that. I could see her being somebody that's like, why, unless she's going to be paid a lot of money. And Tony Khan, I don't doubt that Tony Khan would try, to throw, every dollar at her as possible. It's like I probably more than Mercedes got for Becky Lynch.
Well, I think too at this point, Becky Lynch is a bigger get than Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné. So yeah, like every dollar would go that way if he can possibly swing it.
Right. So. Right.
All right. Yeah. Well, with that being said, Psycho, I think that's it for the review on this. So, guys, I want to hear what your thoughts were. What was your favorite match from the weekend? Excuse me. What was your favorite match from the weekend? Was it an AEW match? Was it a WWE match? Let us know. Reach out to us on social media at Be Hero Media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, while you're there, we are doing a special raffle right now. You will win 2 free tickets to the next Devotion live taping show on June 8th. You have that chance to win it. All you have to do is go to the post, which was posted just a couple days ago, talking about the free tickets, and stating in the comments after liking the post, I am devoted. That's all you need to do, and you'll have 2 free tickets available to you, or possibly you have a chance of winning, 2 free tickets to the next DCW show. But along with that, you can also reach out to me at Mike Burke DCW on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as Mike Burke Pro on Twitter. You can also reach out to Psycho at Psycho Wrestling on the Face of Books. And speaking of Devotion Championship Wrestling, as I previously mentioned, our next show, June 8th, will be at Valley Fair Mall for End Term. I'm super excited. It's going to be a huge show. And for all of our wrestlers out there who are listening, or anybody that wants to become a wrestler, we're also going to be doing a tryout with Gabe Sapolsky. He is the WWE head scout and for them on the independent circuit. So he will be doing a tryout with us that same day. It's $100 for the tryout, or excuse me, $99 for the tryout. So reach out to us on social medias for that, which I'll give you in just 1 second. But before that, we are actually going to be doing a show tonight as this airs, which is May 31st at Aces High in Salt Lake City for bar fights. There's no ring, there's no rules, but it's a whole lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of alcohol. So we have Aces High, May 31st, June 8th, end of term. June 14th, we will be at Westfest in West Valley City, Utah for the fair that they have there called Westfest. I'm super excited for that. It's right next to my house, so I'm all about that. It'll be a great time for that. Following that, we are going to be in Grand Junction at June 15th for the Taco Margarita Festival in Grand Junction, Colorado. And then lastly, June 22nd, we'll be at Kamikazes in Ogden for Tussle Time 13. We have a whole lot of stuff going on this summer. So reach out to us on social media at Devotion Championship Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, DCW Salt Lake City on Twitter, and Devotion Wrestling on TikTok. Whew, that was a lot. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was definitely a fun one. And don't forget, we will be doing our retro review coming up soon. So if you have any thoughts about any shows you want us to watch and review, please reach out to us on our social media. We have a couple in the pipeline now, but we would love to have more ready and available for us to do. That being said, Psycho, is there anything else?
No, I think you covered it.
All right. Well, for the rest of Be Hero Media, we have been the Bump Card, and this is us tapping out. Have a great night, guys.